Welcome, witches, wizards, and muggles alike, to another enchanting episode of Magical Tales from the Slytherin Common Room, bringing your favorite Harry Potter fanfiction to audio format. So sit back, relax, and Accio headphones, and let the magic begin. Apostasy by Deydralinne, Chapter 6, Transition Period. Even with the security of the house rules, neither of them felt comfortable sleeping in their rooms alone. They had stuck with their original plan of sharing a bed, Hermione's bed. Several times overnight, one would wake up, slip quietly out onto the deck for some fresh air, or one or two occasions a cigarette. Dawn was cracking across the horizon when Hermione rolled over to see Ginny watching her. "This is ridiculous," Hermione said after a period of silence, staring at each other. "It is a little," Ginny giggled, "but it's a transition period, right? Either they will kill us, or we will adjust a little. I think the best thing for us is if we carry on how we normally would." Okay, well, it's nearly sunrise, so what will we be doing? So what we'd be doing at the base is training. Right, except I don't know where their stupid fancy dinner that they were talking about is. Dinner last night had been a quiet and stilted affair. The food was nicer than she and Ginny had eaten in years. Chicken Diane, boiled baby potatoes, and an assortment of steamed greens. After which, Ginny and Hermione automatically moved to do the dishes, but Draco just waved away. Ginny and Hermione had retreated to Hermione's room for the rest of the night, undisturbed. "Well, we know how to get to the lawn. We could run laps to start with," Ginny suggested. "Yeah, that sounds good," Hermione nodded. "Hey, Gin, do you regret this?" Ginny just smiled at her. "Nope. Do you?" Hermione shook her head. "I kind of feel like we should, but I don't." Ginny nodded. "I know what you mean. But even if we did, we're kind of in it now." She chuckled. "Right, get out and go get ready. I'll be over in a minute," Hermione said, jumping up and making her way to her wardrobe to change into a pair of gray leggings and a baggy shirt. The wardrobe had a ridiculous amount of heels on a display shelf, but everything about this wardrobe was ridiculous. Why would we need 5 pair of trainers? She waved her wand and her hair pulled up out of her face and into a high ponytail. Lastly, she put on her wrist holster that would house her wand and throwing knives. Ginny was waiting at the door for her by the time she finished. "I wasn't sure if I would be stripped of my magic if I tried to come in without your express permission," Ginny giggled in hushed tones as they trotted down the stairs. "You have my express permission to enter my room in every single situation on every single day or night for the duration of our stay here," Hermione muttered, rolling her eyes because the rules probably would be that strict. The house was silent. The grounds were silent. There was a light mist that clung to the base of the trees, which in the early morning glow seemed even more beautiful. They had only made it halfway down the first side when a disheveled figure popped up barely 2 meters in front of them. Hermione and Ginny both skidded and scrambled backwards in surprise, drawing their wands on him before they could register who it was. "Fucking Merlin, Zambini! Do you know how close you came to getting a killing curse to the chest?" Ginny shouted, stepping forward and shoving him. Blaise was dressed in pajamas and looking at them in confusion. "We are soldiers of war, you know. Where are you two running away to?" he scowled accusingly. Hermione stared at him in disbelief. "What the hell are you on about?" Ginny snapped. "You're running in a direction away from the house," Blaise stated again, as if that answered their questions. "Yeah? So?" Hermione snapped. "We're not leaving the property, therefore we're not breaking any rules." "Then why are you out here at the butt crack of dawn?" Ginny and Hermione looked at each other in annoyance. "What does it fucking look like? We're jogging." Blaise's face softened. Why?" Ginny scowled. "It's what we do. Every morning, Ma and I go for a jog, and then we spar together, except we don't know where your stupid training thing is, so we're just going for the jog." "You're not running away?" "No, dipshit, and don't jump out at us like that again. It really is a miracle one of us didn't attack you," Hermione growled before moving past him and continuing with her run. Ginny mirroring her movement. They were running along the far length when Hermione caught a flash of blonde, blonder than the 2 witches in the house. Draco also looked as though he had jumped out of bed in a hurry and his hair tousled. Unlike Blaise, who, while still in pajamas, was fully dressed. Draco wore only pajama bottoms. Hermione shook her head in annoyance as she watched Blaise walk back up the stairs to meet him, the dark-haired man explaining something to his pale counterpart. "Assholes," Ginny grunted beside her. "Illogical assholes. We bound ourselves to their stupid rules. If we were running away, we'd be giving up our magic," Hermione argued. Both men looked at them across the lawn for a moment and then turned back into the house. They made it another 2 full laps around before Draco reappeared in loose shorts and a plain navy blue shirt and sneakers. Hermione and Ginny slowed to a stop and glared at him. "Do we really need a chaperone, Malfoy? Honestly." Draco raised an eyebrow at Hermione in response. No, Blaze and I are going to the training center. If you would like to see where it is, then come with me. There's a proper running track that you two can use rather than running on the gravel. Fine, lead the way, Malfoy, Ginny sighed. Hermione could see she was clearly trying to hide her growing annoyance toward the Slytherins in the house. She wasn't the only one. Draco folded his arms across his chest and put his shoulders back with a smug smirk on his face. Have we got a problem, Red? I don't know, do we? You're the ones who can't even trust us to run laps in the morning. Where the fuck did you think we were going? You might have been meeting your little order buddies to pass along information, Draco volleyed back at her. As far as I know, you guys are planning a raid for them soon, a mission that we want in on, remember? We gave you their location to scout the area. So which is it? You botched the job, or you haven't bothered to check? Ginny snarled, squaring up to him. Hermione watched Draco's facial expressions as Ginny argued with him. They checked. They're biding their time, which, if you ask me, is a stupid-ass mistake, Hermione glared up at the blonde. How long before the Order realizes that we weren't just taking a day or two off to cool off? That we have left and aren't coming back? They don't trust us, probably even less than you do. You're on borrowed time, Malfoy. Once they've figured out, they will be packing up and moving on, and you will have missed your opportunity. Something in his dark eyes sparkled. You're awfully eager for all your friends to die, Granger. My only friend is here with me. Frankly, I don't care if you do or don't kill the Order, but if they get in my way because you failed to do your job, if they stop me from achieving our goals, then yeah, we will have a fucking problem. Now, stop wasting our time. Either show us the training center or get out of our way. She was significantly shorter than him, so she had to crane her neck to look at him as she snapped at him. It was something he seemed to find rather amusing, at least if his smug was anything to go off of. Neither seemed willing to break their stare off first. If you two are going to fuck, can you point me in the right direction first? Ginny huffed sarcastically with an unamused look on her face. Draco's grin grew. Not even in your dreams, Malfoy, Hermione snarled. Ginny raised an eyebrow at her. Oh, it would definitely happen in my dreams, Granger, and you would be begging for it. Believe me, I wouldn't be the one begging, Malfoy. Hermione snapped sarcastically. It's cute that you'd think that. Draco cocked an eyebrow at her. She wanted to punch his smug smirk off his face, but he was already stalking away from her. Ginny looked at her wide, round eyes. What is wrong with you? She mouthed at her silently. I don't know. Hermione mouthed back. Her cheeks were burning. Both girls followed after the retreating figure. It was a valid question. What the hell was wrong with her? It had been a while, and he was undeniably attractive, for sure. But had it really come to that? Draco led them back into the house and down it, a hidden hallway behind the staircase. There were several closed doors that they passed by before they arrived at a conservatory. Whoa, Ginny whispered, voicing Hermione's amazement. The conservatory was a large rectangular room with large domed glass ceiling and extensive decorative floral moldings framing all of the glass walls. The floor glistened like water over the top of a multitude of flat stones. Plants filled the space in both the air and on the floor. This is, Hermione stepped and looked around at her in wonder. The whole house was gorgeous, but from what she had seen so far, this was her favorite room. Draco stood, waiting for them on the other side of the room by yet another set of large French doors. Astoria designed this? Hermione asked, still in awe of the beauty of the room. Actually, no. This room was my request. It's an exact replica of the conservatory at Malfoy Manor. It was the only part of the place I found I missed. I can see why, Ginny whispered. Hermione nodded, likewise. Ginny moved over to stand at the doors with Draco. Hermione snapped to attention. Oh, sorry. From the French doors, they walked across the small grass field to another building with the dome roof. This time, there was no glass, however. Behind the building was a sea of trees. Outside the building was a training mat. It was something Hermione was looking forward to using. It would feel good to train in the fresh air with the sun slowly rising in the distance instead of in the dark, stale basement of the base. Inside the building, they found Blaze already shirtless and waiting for Draco in a big square boxing ring. Beside her, Ginny stiffened. A glance her way told Hermione that she wasn't the only one who found one of their new housemates attractive. Hermione gripped her arm and pulled her back outside without looking at the weights or dummies with targets painted on them. Running track is downstairs, Draco called from his spot on the edge of the ring. Great, we'll get to it later. Hermione called back over her shoulder and all but dragged the redhead outside. God damn it, that man is fine. Do you think he's fine? Ginny gushed as soon as they were a safe distance from the door. Hermione gave her a look. Ginny and she had never had to worry about a man coming between them because they had very different tastes and partners. Blaze was an attractive person, but he wasn't someone that Hermione would be jumping up and down to get in bed with. I actually don't care what you think. He is fucking fine, Ginny sighed. Hermione scoffed and shook her head, a small smile on her lips. Like, you can hardly talk anyways. Don't think I didn't catch you staring at Malfoy yesterday, and what the hell was that before? I didn't even say anything, Hermione chuckled. You don't have to. At this point in our friendship, I can practically hear your thoughts. Ginny scowled as she took her place at the end of the mat. Well, then maybe you need to get your receiver checked, because my thoughts are, why not? If you want to take him for a ride, there's nothing stopping you. Hermione stepped into her own starting position at the opposite end of the mat. Is that advice you intend to follow too? Ginny cocked an eyebrow. God, no. Hermione laughed. Ready? Ginny rolled her eyes, but then nodded. Falsum personum. Hermione flicked her wand. It was a spell she had created. A dozen faceless human-shaped blobs rose out of the ground and began firing mild stinging jinxes at them. She hadn't managed to figure out a way to have them fire different hexes, but the stinging hexes were effective enough. Hermione's brain kicked into combat mode. For every blob they defeated, another one rose in its place that advanced just a little faster. It was nice to be outside, and the sun had not yet risen yet high enough that it was uncomfortably hot. Hermione still felt the light sheen of sweat coating her skin from the excursion, but it was bearable. Ginny sliced off a blob's head as it approached Hermione's back. Hermione took out the knees of two that were advancing on Ginny's right side. The faster they cut them down, the quicker the hexes flew at them, and the quicker they approached. It was a balance of dancing out of the way of a stinging hex and taking down the aggressors. They had always worked on the grounds of being a joint unit, which meant that they were sharing the enemies, and these blobs would not stop coming until they had defeated 100 of them. Every so often, one of them would hiss as the stinging hex caught them, but it happened rarely. Both Ginny and herself were panting as they worked their way around the mat. Instinct had Hermione throwing it off at a blob past Ginny's shoulder. Ginny exploded a blob in between them and knifed one in the neck as it approached the redhead. Hermione kicked one next to herself in the stomach. Slowly, the blobs thinned out and stopped respawning. Ginny turned to face Hermione, thinking they were done, but something appeared behind her, and Hermione threw the knife before she could register what it was until the blade had already left her hand. Draco grunted as it landed lodged in his thigh. He hissed a laugh. Suppose I deserved that, he rasped. Hermione smiled tightly at him as her way of agreeing. Draco's hand wrapped around the hilt. He sucked in a deep breath and yanked it from his flesh with another grunt. It was oddly sexy, and Hermione had to catch herself from staring at him again, instead summoning the blade back to her. Ginny pointed her wand at his wound, Vulneria Sanitura. The deep but short wound pulled itself back together. Thanks, Draco mumbled. Hermione felt eyes watching her and looked around. On the small set of wooden stairs leading back to the conservatory stood Blaise, still shirtless and watching the scene with amusement. Daphne was beside him, leaning against the frame in another well-tailored pantsuit. This one a deep maroon color with a gray blouse underneath. At her feet, sitting on the stairs, was Pansy in a pair of dark blue overalls. Even from here, Hermione could see the glint of a large gold-hooped earrings. Pansy started to clap lazily. Well, that was very impressive, you two. We have a meeting in half an hour, and you are expected, Draco explained before walking back to the others, the slightest of limps in his step. Ginny looked over at Hermione for a second with a blank stare before breaking out into a grin. Raishu, the witch, took off before Hermione could process. Hey, Hermione yelled, taking off after her, passing Draco, whose eyes were still following Ginny's running form in alarm. Pansy, Daphne, and Blaise leapt aside to avoid being trampled by the redhead and stared at the two of them as if they had gone mad. Truth be told, they had gone mad a long time ago, but they were much happier for it. That's cheating, Hermione yelled, bounding up the wooden steps further in the house. Ginny cackled with laughter.